Kia ora, and welcome to Julz from NZ, a podcast from a Kiwi chick, chocker with roleplay gaming chat and world lore of the most fantasy place ever, Aotearoa, New Zealand. We play games, get deep into RPG, learn fun facts about New Zealand and laugh a lot along the way. Can't wait to have you listening along. Ngā mihi nui. Thanks very much. Kia ora, morena, tēnā koutou katoa. Hello, good morning, and welcome back to all of you to Julz from NZ. Kei te pehea koutou, how are you all? Well, kei te tino pai, I am very good. I know it's been a while, we're just not going to talk about that, we're just going to move on. And we're just going to talk about what we're talking about today because I've got a cool episode for you, done a bunch of research, really excited to share this one and tell you all about the cool stuff that I have been up to later in the episode. So first we're going to talk about a cool NZ topic. And then later we're going to basically go through some of the games that I've been playing recently, Kiwi RPG Week and how awesome it's been, the Auckland Armageddon visit, and the fact that we're moving on with Wrath of the Righteous. So before I get into any of that, let's talk Aotearoa, New Zealand. Treasures from the vault. So I was driving up country with Nikki and Michaela from BD&D, and they had this list of places as we were driving that they wanted to stop. We were headed to Auckland Armageddon, and I was very lucky to be sharing a car with them all the way up, all the way back. We had an absolute blast on the trip, but that's not what I'm talking about here today. So one of the first ones on the list is the iconic Foxton Windmill. That's right. New Zealand has its own windmill. With our first stop only 1 hour and 10 minutes out of Wellington at Foxton, we stopped at Starbucks first to delay our start time a little so we wouldn't get there too early. You know, classic vanilla white chocolate mocha with the cinnamon bun because it has to be done. So around 10 a.m. we actually pulled into Foxton town, and you can already see from most places in Foxton the sails rising up over the town. So barely needing any maps directions to get there, we just drove towards the windmill until the bottom of it came into sight, which is, you know, pretty standard. So Molen is what they call the windmill. Please forgive my pronunciation. I tried to get it right based on what they said, but it's Dutch for the mill because we're really creative here. So it sounds proudly surrounded by a few other buildings, and Cafe de Molen is a great spot to grab a coffee and a bite to eat while marveling over the craziness of a couple of Dutch immigrants who moved here in 1987. Now, for those of you who do follow on Patreon, I'll make sure that I put up a bunch of photos that I took while I was there so you can see how beautiful it is there, both from up on the decks around the windmill and from the bottom, so you can really take it into view. But let's talk about these crazy Dutch people. So in Dutch they have a saying that if you are crazy, you have had een klap van de molen, which means a bump on your head from the vane of a windmill. And Dirk Van Til and Jan Langen had definitely had the biggest bump on their head, according to most of New Zealand back at the time. So Jan and Dirk found the Foxton landscape reminded them strongly of the Netherlands flat land, lots of green grass surrounded by water, and there was always an abundance of wind. So basically perfect for a windmill. So they first proposed this to the council in 1990, and windmill plans were drawn up off specifications obtained from the Netherlands in 1988. It's a faithfully built replica of a traditional 17th century Dutch flour mill, which is pretty cool. So it's quite traditional and really, really well built to those plans, those original plans. The Foxton Community Board decided to throw in their approval, and the Horowhenua District Council did too. They gave consents and building community enthusiasm, but they still had a problem, because who on earth was actually going to build this thing? It wasn't exactly like they had a whole lot of windmill builders just sort of sitting around waiting for a job, you know? But in early 1997, a qualified builder, a real master of his craft, knocked on Jan's door early one Saturday morning and agreed to be the construction manager for this enormous project. And actually, he was also going to do it all for free, which is extra insane if you know anything about how big something like that is to build. So thank you very much to Core Slob. He was not a slob. He definitely did the work. And so the first thing he did was build a mini model, which I say is mini, but it was still 10 feet tall. And it was actually a working model of the windmill too. He built that in his spare time in his garage at home. And that was just to test the concept and basically to see if he could do it. Now, with the community supporting with time and donations, and the Eastern and Central Community Trust giving incredibly generously to the cause, now the cogs finally begin to turn. Molen was actually built with New Zealand timber, mainly by volunteer labour and local builders. But the running gear, millstones and sail stocks were made, shipped to New Zealand and installed by master millers of Vargs, Molen working and from Alten in the Netherlands. The month after they arrived from the Netherlands, in New Zealand, the sails and the millstones made their first turn, which is pretty incredible to take it from woe to go. It's a multi-million-dollar project. It cost a lot to get all of that in action, as you can understand. But Molen may be made from a 17th century design, and it may look like an olden day relic, but it does actually have the latest design and composite millstones and 2 new experimental wind blades. So the workings of that windmill are as modern as windmills come, which is also pretty incredible that we in New Zealand have both a 17th century windmill with modern day internals, because we like to do things differently. So Molen was completed and officially opened on 13th of April 2003. So actually pretty recently. So someone asked me if there were cool, mysteries and ghost stories and things like that about the windmill. There aren't, mainly because it was built together with the community with huge amounts of love and no real mystery around it, other than who was going to build it, and then they solved that one. So it's open to the public most days as a monument to the welcoming New Zealand community and to all those Dutch immigrants that came to New Zealand from the Netherlands after World War II. It is run and maintained by the Foxton Windmill Trust and run by paid and unpaid volunteers. So Café de Molen also directly supports the running of the windmill, but the cafe in turn gets direct result of the unique flour made in the mill. Some not so easily obtained elsewhere because they can actually just mill whatever they like, therefore they get all sorts of really unique flours. And the flour is also for sale in the shop on the ground floor. So for all of those bakers out there, the windmill is actually a really great treat. The shop also sells various Netherlands-themed souvenirs and treats, so it's a fun visit to try out some new sweets and new foods. And I realize I haven't even really spoken about the milling side of the windmill yet, but it's just as interesting. Jamie Henry is one of New Zealand's only trained millers. He was a young man training to be a chef when he got shoulder tapped and asked if he'd ever thought about milling before. He hadn't, because that's not a thing Kiwis have ever thought about before. And usually in the Netherlands, it's a 3-year apprenticeship style course, but that's a bit tough for New Zealand's only working windmill to manage. So a trained miller came over and worked with Jamie and another trainee for about 6 months before he wished them well and then left. Obviously, Jamie can still contact the Netherlands for all sorts of support, but otherwise he's pretty much in charge of the milling, which is a crazy thing for a very young man to be in charge of. He explained the way that the mill works to grind the flour as simply as he could, so I'll try not to mangle it here when I repeat it. So essentially, the sails connect to the main shaft, which weighs about 9 ton, and that rotates around. It's got a wheel called the crown wheel, which runs vertical around the shaft that turns with it. And that, with big teeth, connects to another wheel that transfers the rotation to horizontal and then kind of brings the rotation down to the floors below. And the next floor, they basically have some control on the parts that they then connect to actually grind. So depending on what flour they're milling at the time, or maybe they just connect nothing when they're just freewheeling the sails. So when they're freewheeling, they describe that as showing off, and it's not terribly frequent. It's just turning without grinding, because it's all like, we have a windmill and you don't. which is kind of funny. So that rotation anyway transfers to the stones, the millstones. They're engaged, and they start the process of crushing and cracking the grains, traveling those grains through these cool grooves in the stone, and they're all kind of like swirly grooves that kind of transfer all the pieces out. And it's about the last 20 centimeters of the actual millstones that make the flour as we would kind of know it. They then grab that flour, bag it all up, and sell it in the shop. And they did say that you need to like sieve the flour a little bit, as it's quite raw from the mill. Occasionally you'll still get like a bit of that grain kind of come through that's not supposed to, but I don't know, I think that adds something to it. Is that's the reason why sieves used to exist, and we don't really use them now, apart from when our flour gets like old and we have to sieve out the chunks, or is that just me? Anyway, I wondered about the wind because, with Wellington, and obviously we're known for the wind, it can be furious. And I was curious as to how they manage that. But they say that the wind can be, pretty unpredictable, so it's a challenge. But the main brake system is a friction-based one, and it's metal on wood. So basically they said it's not a good idea to have to pull the brake on a high wind day, because you can set things on fire that way. So in high winds, the windmill is basically on lock. 40 to 50k winds is the max that they would spin it in. So you'd think that on like a low wind day too, when the sails aren't really turning, that maybe that would mean that a miller could sleep in. But apparently 1 day's milling is about 6 days of cleaning and working. So when the winds aren't blowing, there's still quite a lot of cleaning and maintenance to do. You can always visit and see the work, or visit on a day where it's not working. If the Molinar is working, he's really happy to answer questions. So Jamie Henry is also a chef, and he bakes regularly with the floury grinds. And he's super happy to talk about what he's doing, when he's doing it, and kind of just get involved, which is pretty amazing. He does warn, though, that putting your nose to the grindstone is not a good idea, and I feel like he would know. He did say that it's a painful way to lose your nose, so that sounds like a good lesson for us all, really. I hope you've enjoyed my little introduction to Molen, the New Zealand's only working windmill. I feel like it's probably the only working windmill of a lot further than that, but we're pretty proud of it. So go Foxton. And if you're traveling through Foxton, even though it's only an hour out of Wellington, perhaps consider stopping in the cafe, spending some money, and continuing to support the running of this windmill. I think that's pretty cool. Just time to shine. So, I've told you a whole lot about a windmill, but what about Julz? Okay, so what has Julz been up to since last we spoke? And will Julz stop talking about herself in the third person? Hopefully, because it's already annoying me. Anyway, we're going to speed run some highlights since we last spoke. And if you're interested in hearing more about any particular one of them, please let me know, because I've done quite a lot in the last few months since we spoke. And To cover any of it in depth would take us way too long on this episode. So I'm going to speed run a bunch of stuff, and hopefully I will get back to some of these and talk about them in much more depth because some of them are really cool. First one, I turned 42. I turned the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And you know what? I'm a pretty cool answer so far, actually. I enjoy 42. Definitely don't enjoy all of 42, but I'll explain that as we go. I bought a paper diary to fill in weekly with the express intention of getting my crazy life back under control so I could get back to doing things that I missed doing, like podcasting again. So far, so good. Only the paper diary doesn't get filled in every week. So I seconded that with this really cool app called Aquatica, which actually has a little RPG character that runs around and collects pets and does things and fights things. And if I don't help my little Aquatica character by doing my daily tasks and my daily habits and my like big to-dos and stuff, she gets a health an HP beating, and I feel bad because she dies. So I'm more invested in taking care of myself and having a glass of water and actually doing things like brushing my teeth, because my little RPG character might die. It's a weird lesson, but it's a lesson. And just in case that any of you out there aren't very good about looking after yourself day to day, and you want to be better about some of those tasks and actually have somewhere to feel good about when you tick off big tasks, Aquatica. Cannot recommend it enough. Love it. Tell me if you love it. Anyway, number 3. I bought a wedding dress. I mean, I'm getting married next year, so that did need to happen. But I went to this really awesome dress recycle place called Eco Bride. I picked up an awesome dress for cheap. And I'm in love with the dress, and I'm very excited to be wearing it next year. So tick, big job already done. Tick. We started recording a brand new podcast. This is number 4 that I'm a player in. It's called Grow Up, Run Away, but don't go looking for it yet. It's not out yet. It's going to be released in October, and production scale is really impressive. We have a sound engineer working on it. We've got a in-house artist who's on the podcast who is making all of the art for it. I already have all the socials up and running for it. And I'm going to be the community manager. Basically means I'm setting up the Discord and ready to be amping on the community vibes there, because I did say I was the one with probably the least time, but the most sort of social kind of engaging. I tend to just love Discord. So that fit really well. It's going to be an absolute banger of a release because the entire team is working together to make sure it looks slick when it comes out. So keep posted. Closer to October, I'll probably be talking about it a bunch. We've already got about 4 episodes in the can. And yeah, I'm just really excited about my character. I'm not going to give any spoilers right now, but I am very excited about my character. So number 5, I broke my back. Well, I mean, technically I broke the muscles in my back, and I was stuck on the floor for hours waiting for the ambulance while Joey talked to me and kept me calm. That's Joey from Hindsightless, of course. I've been in physio for months, but it's actually improved a lot now. I'm out of doing regular physio. I'm basically looking after it myself, doing stretches and taking care of myself, and getting back into doing a bit more regular physical work. So I'm almost back to normal. I'm feeling pretty good about it. But yeah, breaking my back was pretty scary, actually. I did it twice. The first time was putting on a sock, I think. No, the first time was just like bending over, and the second time was putting on a sock or something like that. I forget now how I broke it, but it was really mundane, boring, average things that broke it. It wasn't something cool. So that happened. Number 6, I played a Spyron space pirate character in a little mini-series showcasing the RPG system Scum and Villainy, which you can actually watch on Guild Superior's YouTube channel. I had an amazing time. The absolutely incredible Alan Henry GM'd that. Alan Henry, of course, the one who is Godzilla, King Kong, most of the characters in Minecraft. Cocaine Bear, he's the motion capture artist for all of these things, and he's also an incredible GM. So go and have a watch of that. I'm going to put a link in the notes so you can see it on the Guild Superior's YouTube channel. Such a fun system. I had a great time, and there's a good 5 episodes there of like 3 hours each, so you really get a good feel for what the system can do. Number 7, I ran a D&D live show at Wellington Armageddon. Armageddon being New Zealand's biggest convention circuit. And I was running the D&D live show for the Wellington one, which was pretty incredible. My players were the stars of the 1990s TV show Roswell, which was just a crazy thing to be doing. It was such an honor to be running for those players, and that Armageddon and Questbook, who had nominated me for it, Questbook, the paid GMing service that I work for, the faith in me was a lot of pressure. But I had the audience actually singing Dido's theme song, and the players invited me to hang out with them again after the show, and we were walking around the convention circuit with their handlers, and they kept trying to give me the samples that were definitely for the Roswell TV stars. But they were really cool. They had a really fun time, and they just wanted to like hang out afterwards and keep vibing on that high. So yeah, huge honor. Safe to say it went really well, and I got to know the team pretty well, which was cool. Number 8, I got the flu, which took me out for over a week. Honestly, completely wrote me off. So stay safe out there. Get your flu shots. Stock up on your vitamin C. I'm serious. This flu is not to be mucked with. It's so much worse than COVID. I thought I was going to end up in hospital. Yeah, so take care of yourself out there. Number 9, I have still been DMing the podcast Fate of Eisen this entire time, which recently had a 7-year birthday of the podcast. It's a huge anniversary. So that's another big honor that our Faties, what we call our fans, are still out there listening to us, supporting us after so long. And we still have quite an active community. Heaps of people turned up on the live stream for our 7th birthday, and that was an absolute blast. So yeah, really, really cool. Number 10, I got to visit the Auckland. Apparently I've been talking too much to Joey. I got to visit the Auckland Armageddon with the lovely team at BD&D. They are my friendly local gaming store, my FLGS. So BD&D and I are really, really close. We're tight. And they packed me in a car with all the gear, and I was definitely tight. We drove all the way to Auckland, which was an 8-hour trip. We spent 4 days setting up the stand, selling a bunch of things, and then packing it back down again. We talked to heaps of awesome people, marveled over incredible costumes, and I even got to meet some of the fans of the podcast and various people I've only ever talked to online or in a Twitch streamed, chat, which was really, really cool. And I hope to get to do that again next year, perhaps, because it was such a fun time. Number 11, Wrath of the Righteous is on book 6, and I might actually get to finish a Pathfinder Paizo adventure path, which is just wow. Like, it's bucket list stuff, guys. I'm trying not to count my chickens before they hatch, because as we know in life, anything could happen. But it's been years that we've been playing this, and we're still in it for probably another year. But I can feel it now. We're on the end path, and it just feels so possible. I'm excited, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm also quite worried that Haven will die any day now. But I do love that I get to play with James, Laura, Jason from Nerds RPG Variety Cast, and Joey from Hindsightless every second Sunday. It's a real highlight of my week when the Wrath session rolls around again. And I'm not going to do Wrath spoilers, because I'll leave that to Joey over on Hindsightless, because I enjoy the updates just as much as you do over there, because Joey talking about it afterwards makes it seem so obvious about all of the things that we should have already known or be doing. We're just really dumb sometimes. Joey did ask if I was doing a Haven's Diary again, and I actually might do one next time. She has quite a lot of feelings about where she is at right now, so it would be quite cool to explore them for myself as well. Number 12, Kiwi RPG Week. It just ended. I was going to try and get this out beforehand, but I was in some of the Kiwi RPG Week, and it was also the same week that we had the Fate of Eisen 7th anniversary live stream, so it was a lot going on that week already. So I gave myself a break, and we're putting this out the week after. So Kiwi RPG Week did just end, but that's okay. You can still get all of that epic Kiwi content by visiting the Kiwi RPG website. It's still all up. You can see the library that they put together of all of the various Kiwi-made RPG systems. You can still find links to all of the games, the live streams and things that were played during the week to feature a bunch of different Kiwi systems so that you can see them played. And I got to, with the Diceratops podcasting team, which I have podcasted with also for years now, I got to explore a cool system called Odyssey Aquatica. It's a 1960s oceanographic adventure playset for the Paragon system with the Agon role-playing game. So a copy of Agon, like Agon, is required to play. But it was really good seafaring fun. It's the sort of system where you have to match a set DC that the game master rolls up depending on variables of the challenge, like how hard the challenge is, how beefy the monster might be compared to us, blah, blah, blah. They set the DC as they roll it. You declare what action you are taking, what equipment you're using, and all of these things to create your dice pool. The top 2 D6 are taken for your roll, and then the players have to explain their result, improvising and creating the scene based on how badly or how well they did. It's actually a really fun idea to have to wait until your roll to say what you do, because so often in D&D we go, I do this cool thing and I think it's going to be really cool, and then we roll and we're like, oh, nat 1, I guess it's not cool. But it's actually kind of quite a cool learning for me as I was playing this game to sort of say what I want to try and do, but not really. I was just like, I'm going to use this determination score. I'm going to call on a bond from my friend. I'm going to use this piece of equipment, and now I roll, and I either did well or badly. And instead of having a pre-idea about what I did with that equipment or why I called on that bond, I get to make all of it up on the spot depending on my roll. So it's actually a really, really fun idea. And I got to build a lot on top of what the others did. So I waited. If I wasn't like the first one who had to make up my story, I get to wait and see what the others do, and then I add my silliness on top of their silliness, and we really created quite a fun picture of what was going on together. So you can check that out on the Kiwi RPG Twitch videos feed, and I'll add that link in the notes too. It is a really good time. It's a really quick one because we only played a one shot. So you can just watch a few hours of that and really understand how the system worked. I think Greg Ellis did a really good job of running that. And the Diceratops crew, they're an improvising. They're actually like professional improvisers. They go on stages and do fun comedy shows and stuff. So I was very privileged to be there with that crew. I always feel like I'm trying to be funny around them. And they always think that I'm hilarious, just naturally just being myself. So it's kind of a fun fit. I don't know how to take that though. When they say, oh, you're naturally funny, I'm like, cool. So you guys are always laughing at me. Great. I know I've probably missed a bunch of really cool things that have happened recently, but that 12 is a good grab bag of things that have been the focus of my life over a while, and now you kind of understand a little bit about why I've been off the mic and why I've been so busy. Things have slowed down a little now, though, and I have some time back to myself, so I'm looking forward to actually creating my own little podcast again and sharing more of myself with you and more of Aotearoa with you, indeed. But for now, I think it's time for me to get out of here. I've been talking long enough, and you deserve for me to stop. I just want to say a personal thanks to the gems, what I call my Julz Patreon supporters out there still listening and supporting me. And I have no idea why. It's been months. You're crazy. But big thank you to Barry, Lieran, Ezequiel, Joey, BJ, Spencer, and the Pink Phantom. You're kind of epic. Thank you very much. If you're enjoying listening to Julz from NZ, please give the show a review on the platform of your choice. And where else you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Blue Sky, under Julz from NZ, and in the Glitter Discord, where actually you can see a bunch of the photos that I posted of Dear Molen and the new art that I created for the podcast. Don't forget the Patreon page also, where I hope to load up more bits as I could do new cool things too. And I posted my apology for how long it's been over there as well. I'm trying a new thing at the moment where I create a YouTube video of the podcast episode with some photos and things linked to what I'm talking about. I hope it's good. It's certainly an experiment, and it adds a lot of time onto the podcast creation overall. So it took me a lot longer to make this than I actually thought it would. So we'll see if I keep doing it or get sick of the extra work. Blame Joey from Hindsightless if you hate it. He told me to do it. But you can check that out on Julz from NZ on YouTube, where I actually have a bunch of different content that I've created over the years that I've been performing. Mixes of stand-up comedy back when I was doing that quite a lot. Mixes of singing and various silliness that I've created over the years. It'll be nice to actually have something new going up there. It's been a while since I posted anything on the YouTube channel. So, fresh is good. E no hora, ka kite ana, aroha nui. Goodbye, and I will see you again soon. And I love you lots. Bye. Mwah. Bye.